Happy Wednesday, everyone. We are slowing things down just a little bit today. Just a little bit after the past 2 days leading into the rest of the week. So, what we got is some strength work for you guys today. So before we get to that, let's talk about our warm-up. We got our dynamic triangle, 3 to 5 aside. Side lunge, 6 to 10 alternating reps. Sumo squat for 3 at a 3-1-3 tempo. Plank, 5 seconds. Side plank for 5 seconds. We'll show you a bunch of different ways of taking that down to get the best out of that side plank. And then a plank rock to down dog for 3 to 5. So a really good chance to just open things up throughout the upper back and the legs. We'll hit that for 1 to 2 rounds. We'll move into a practice round, basically just tackling the movements in the work set. If you need a little bit of chances to build the loading up, practice a few things, play with some stuff, that's your time. Take it down. Then we're going to set yourself up with this 3-rounder right here. We're going to kickstart off with some single leg work, single leg RDL. So we're going to work for 30 seconds per side with a 3-second eccentric. Then we're going to rest for 15 seconds, moving into a vertical power jump for 60 seconds. Rest 15 seconds, half Turkish get up. So we're going to work that for 30 seconds aside, working on control and overhead control with rotation. Rest 15 seconds, vertical power jump of 60 seconds. Rest 15 seconds, finishing off with a foot assist pistol for 30 seconds aside. Resting for 60 seconds, do it all over again. So we got some cool stuff today. We got a nice, I wouldn't say calm, but we do have a nice slower day for you guys to have some fun with. Now, talking about our in-between exercise today, the vertical power jump. These are extremely gassing, and I want you guys to use this 60 seconds as skill building, not necessarily something that's going to really tax you. So I want you guys to work on a couple reps at a time, resting a little bit, a couple reps at a time, rest a little bit, but nothing too aggressive on these vertical power jumps. Not like yesterday when we kind of substituted them for box jumps in our work set. I don't want you to think max reps, I want you to think quality in that 60 seconds. So don't worry about counting your reps, just do a couple, rest a bit, do a couple, rest a bit, working on that rebound and absorption. So please, please, please focus on those key points and not just gassing yourself out in those 2 minutes of work right there. Now, let's get you all warmed up, let's get you fired up, let's take down this work set today. All right, let's start off by getting our body moving around. So let's take those arms up big and tall, just big stretch overhead, reaching for length with a little side bend. Come back up, just big reach, think about length. Oh yeah, we'll take it all the way down to the floor, touch those toes, walk with those shins. We'll come back down, framing the foot, step it back into your lizard, nice and square through those hips. We're gonna take that hand on the front foot, lock the legs in place, and just turn the torso. And then from here, we're gonna come back to center. We're gonna come back over to one side, and then come back to center, and then back towards the hand, and then back to center. We'll plant the hand, step back into that down dog, reaching through those hips, setting those shoulders. We're gonna walk the heels back and forth, nice and gentle, and then we'll come back into our plank, pushing through those arms. We'll step that foot up, locking that foot in place. We'll turn, we'll come back to center, we'll turn, back to center, and turn, and back to center. Planting the hand, we'll step back into that down dog, reaching those hips. Let's just walk the heels, nice and gentle, feeling those shoulders, feeling those feet. We'll come back into that plank as we push those shoulders gently up to the sky, tiptoe those feet up, and roll ourselves up, big stretch, big reach, good. We'll bring the hands down. Woo. Let's get you guys fired up. If there's any extra little bits you need to take care of for yourself, cat-cows, band work, whatever you need to do, please do so. Pause the video, take that down, come back and join me. I'm gonna go over this nice little piece to get you top to bottom ready before we start tackling the movements of the workout. Our next phase of warm-up is gonna start off with a dynamic triangle. So again, starting in that sumo stance, something that's comfortable, we're gonna turn one toe directly to the side. We're going to turn the other toe on an angle, and we're going to get ourselves set up nice and open on the angle with those hips. Hand is going to come to the thigh. We're going to take our arm up to the ceiling, screwing that as we draw the hips straight back into that heel. Reaching that arm up to the ceiling, we're really focusing on that good position and opening up through that side body. So again, drawing into that heel, really working on opening up, and then keeping that arm up all the way to the ceiling. So as a quick little recap, we want to think, draw the hip back. You're going to feel that in that hamstring, kind of that inner thigh region. We're going to have that nice hinge, and as we find that hinge, you'll just slowly take it down the shin, as far as you feel comfortable in that hinge. We want to feel space through that torso, that long body. So really take the time to kind of shift into that hip and open up that side. From there, we're going to shimmy the feet a little wider out. We're going to get a nice wide stance with a slight turn out of the toes. We're going to draw the hip down towards the heel, and I want you to think squat opposed to thinking lunge. So we're going to have that knee tracking the toe. That hip is going to come down towards the heel, and we're going to really focus on keeping that body upright. And then we're going to push through that midfoot, coming back up tall. So we really want to focus the weight throughout that midfoot portion of the foot. That full foot is in contact with the floor, and we're really focused on that posture. So if you feel your body starting to do kind of a good morning as we start to go towards the foot, stop that range of motion and only take it as deep as we can maintain that nice upright torso. So really focusing on that body position, just as if we were going to do a squat. After our side lunge, we're going to bring our feet in just a tad into our sumo stance again, and we're going to work on our sumo squat. Now with this sumo squat, we need a little bit of pressure out on those legs just so that the knees track the toes. We don't have to overkill it. We don't want the toes to come off the ground, but we do want those knees to track the toes as we take it down in that wider stance. So we want to make sure that those toes are slightly turned out so that those knees can follow that track. Now, same concept as the side lunge. We want to make sure that that body is staying nice and upright and vertical as we take down that squat and pushing down through those feet to stand tall in that nice finished position for the squat. So again, not overkilling the press out so those feet roll off the ground, but keeping those big toes down, pressing those knees out enough that they stay out and track the toes the entirety of the squat. After our sumo squat, we're going to go into some planking. We have some different options here for this one. We have a plank to side plank. So we're going to get ourselves established in our nice, solid plank position. So pushing through the arms just a little bit to press the floor away, gripping the ground, pulling those ribs in a little bit so we get that nice, solid positioning. Now holding this position for 5 seconds, our first option, we're going to roll onto that stacked foot position, pushing down through that balancing arm and reaching up with that arm to open up that chest and back position. So we're always pushing into the floor and we're reaching that end of the sky. We'll hold for 5 seconds per side as we work through that side plank. Now, if you're not super comfortable with the side plank, we have another variation for you, which is bladed feet. So we have this nice plank position to start. We're going to start with our feet a little bit more apart, and as we transition to our side plank, we're going to let our feet just sort of tip to the side and blade so that we have a little bit more balance, a little bit more control, and we can push through that arm and focus on that position a little bit more with some balance. Now our last variation is a supported side plank with the knee down, and that's really going to give us an opportunity to push into that arm and really establish a strong shoulder position. So we start again from that good plank. We're actively pressing through the floor and pushing the floor away. We're going to take the knee down so it's nice and vertical, knee to hip. I'm going to rotate over, pushing through this arm as I just take this foot and open up to the side. So we're always, again, pushing through that arm, reaching to the sky to open up the chest, but we have this foot down to allow us a little bit of support in that side position. So it's going to help us kind of take a little bit of pressure off the shoulder so that we can really push into the floor and focus on that engagement. Our last exercise is our plank rock to down dog, and this one's kind of fun, but it's really going to determine determine how far you go by the stress on the wrists and the shoulders. So we're gonna push through that plank again, gripping the floor, active through those shoulders. We're gonna maintain that pressure up as we pull with the upper body. We're gonna pull the shoulders in front of the hands as best we can, keeping the arms straight, and then push back into our down dog, setting those good shoulders, softening the knees and heels so we can get that nice hip action, and then come back into our plank, pushing the floor away actively. So before we move into that plank rock again, we want to make sure the shoulders are active, we're nice and stable, so that when we go to pull, we get that nice engagement through that arm, through that lat side body, so that we get that good solid stability as we go into that plank rock. We really need to focus on that pressure up as well, so it's an up and forward kind of pull, or sorry, up and back I should say, as we pull back to move the body forward. We want to make sure those shoulders stay in that slightly protracted position so that we're not sinking in between into the scapula. So we really have to focus on that shoulder pressure. As a quick recap, we have our dynamic triangle of 3 to 5 side, side lunge 6 to 10 alternating, sumo squat of 3 at a 3-1-3 tempo, plank for 5 seconds to side plank for 5 seconds, both sides on that side plank for 5 I should say, and then a plank rock to down dog at a 3 to 5 rep. Not rushing that flow, so we want to make sure that we're engaging, we're active, and we're holding those positions well. 1 to 2 rounds of that, and then we're going to move into a practice round. So pause the video, take those down, have some fun with it. We're going to move into those practice movements, get you guys fired up, and ready to take down this work set. All right, you guys, we are here, ready to go with these practice movements to give ourselves a little once-over before we actually start the work set. So our first movement of the day is a single leg RDL. So we're going to set ourselves up with the dumbbell, either holding both hands or a single. We can use the single on the side of the kickstand leg or the balancing leg. Regardless of where we hold the dumbbell, the hinge factor is the same, but it is going to give you a slightly different feel in the body. So I don't want to say that one is better than the other, because they're not. They just give you a slightly different stimulus in the body in terms of the exercise. So I want you guys in the beginning to do what's going to allow you to maintain that good hinge first, and then start to experiment with the different positions of the dumbbell, because that's going to allow you to change the feel of the exercise. So for now, for today, I'm just going to hold it on the kickstand leg so you guys can see. My foot is going to be flat, my toe is going to be slightly behind that heel. My hips are going to be square to the front. So we really want to make sure that I'm keeping a nice square torso as I do this. That toe is down for balance and support if I need it. But we're going to focus on this front leg. We're going to draw the hip back. We're going to keep the dumbbell pretty close to the body. And we're just going to take the dumbbell to the knee. All right, we're just below the knee, keeping that square body position. Then we're going to pull back up, pushing through that leg to straighten out through the hip and the leg. So again, we're going to draw the hip back, keeping the big toe down, that nice flat foot contact, feeling that hamstring say hello, and then stand tall in that nice RDL. Very, very important. Again, we're not trying to touch the dumbbell to the floor. We're just taking it to just below the knee or just above. Our primary focus is that back position throughout the movement. Now, we want to feel this movement in that upper hamstring, lower glute. So we want to feel that up here, making sure that we are engaging and setting at the top of every position or every movement. So make sure you reset the hips and glutes before we take down into that next rep. Our next exercise is a vertical power jump. So with this, we've done these quite a bit in the past little while because I really like them as a substitute for box jumping. It's one of those cool ways to get a nice, really explosive hip knee extension and build some strength here in that powerful, explosive action. And you don't have to worry about jumping on anything. So what we're going to play with today is that vertical power jump. Now this is 60 seconds. I don't expect you to go full on for 60 seconds. I want you to work for quality. We're going to stand with those feet just kind of under the hips or just outside. We are going to get ourselves into that power position as if I was going to do a box jump or a kettlebell swing. Then from there, I'm going to swing and jump up. finishing in that power position. So that power position allows my knees to be slightly out, so I'm landing with good support. My feet are kind of flat as I land and pull into it. You're going to land toe ball foot into the foot. So we want to make sure that when we land, we're not landing flat-footed, but we're also not staying on our toes. We're absorbing into this flat foot so we have really good footing so that we can go and drive into that next exercise or next movement. All right? So when we do these, we're not looking for height. We're looking at practicing our absorption of that impact of our previous jump and working on that rebound and flow. So my suggestion would be do 2 to 3, rest a few seconds, do 2 to 3, rest a few seconds, and continue in that pattern for 60 seconds. Not worrying about how many reps you get, but worrying about the quality of the jump. Now, if you're not a jumper, you can play around with this option as well. Same flow, we pull back, up onto the toes, up onto the toes, up onto the toes, and we're not actually leaving the ground, but we are extending through the hips and the knees aggressively and explosively, but we're not leaving the floor with those feet. We're just coming up onto the toes, and then we pull back into the same position we would if we were jumping. So play around with those, have some fun with it. Sometimes you'll feel that you might get a little lift if you're doing that one where you're not trying to leave the ground, but that leg and hip extension just kind of pulls you up quite effectively. So stay tuned for that and see how it feels. But if you leave the ground a little bit, it's not a big deal. After that vertical power jump, we have a half Turkish get up. So we're going to slow things down. So this is going to be a little tough after those vertical power jumps because you're going to be breathing a little bit heavy. So we want to get ourselves into this kneeling hip position. Knee over top of the heel, back knee, under hip, under shoulder. The same leg that's up front is going to be the arm that's holding the dumbbell in that nice overhead position. So the same position we practice in our dynamic triangle. I'm going to actively push my hand down towards the floor as I come into this nice hinge. So I'm tilting down to the side into a kind of a semi-side plank, pushing through this active arm on the floor, reaching towards the ceiling with the dumbbell, and then maintaining the shoulder position as I come back into that vertical kneeling position. So we want to make sure that we have a pad under this knee of some sort so we're not focusing on the knee, we're focusing on our position and our movement pattern. If you want to do this without loading, please do so. You'll still get great benefit from this without a load. It'll allow you to focus on your position overhead and that tip over to the side. So take your time with this, really focus on a smooth lower and a smooth up, perhaps with a pause on either side. There's no eccentric on this one, but we do want to make sure we're controlling the down and not just collapsing down to the floor. So take your time with these, move slow, move steady. It's the time under tension that we're after. Now our next exercise would be that vertical power jump again. So whatever you did previous, before that half Turkish get up, you'll take that down. And then we move into our foot assist pistol. So we get kind of in the same position to start as our RDL with that toe being there for assistance. Now with this, what we're going to do, I'm going to switch feet so you guys can see that working foot closer to the camera. We have 4 different variations of this. Base level with the foot assist, we're going to set our hips up square. We're going to take those hips down towards the heel, letting that knee track the toe, and maintain balance with that flat foot as I push through that leg to stand. So base level, that's where we're at, no load, working a 3-second eccentric. If that's getting easier for you, what we can do is we can bring a dumbbell into play or a kettlebell, and we can work on a slightly loaded foot assist. So the primary mover is this leg up front, that nice move, that nice flat foot, same mechanics, we take the hip to the heel, staying focused over this balancing leg, and letting that leg do the work. Now once you've spent some time doing the loaded pistol variation, we can start shifting to a less balanced position, where you still get the foot assist, but you don't have the assistance on the floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the top of the foot, plaster to the back of the heel, so it's off the ground, and we're going to get ourselves square, push that foot against the heel, and we're going to take that body down in that nice still get the foot assist, but not quite the balance of the foot assist. It's just helping to keep the hips and body a little bit tighter. Once you're comfortable with that and confident with that, we pull the dumbbell into effect and we start doing that variation loaded with the dumbbell in the goblet position, which is going to challenge that leg just a little bit more and build that strength without the balance. And then from there, we move into our full-on pistol options as we progress into that full foot to the front pistol. So there's 4 different variations. Again, like I've said in the past, we want to make sure that we're staying with this option that challenges us, but not rushing to jump to the next one, because we want to make sure we build a good foundation as we move into those pistols without assistance, with that foot on the floor. So really take the time, play with some different loading in that weighted pistol if you're there, before we start taking the foot off the ground and moving away from that foot assist. Now, as a quick recap, we have 3 rounds. Single leg RDL, 30 seconds per side with a 3-second eccentric down on each rep. Rest 15 seconds. We're going to do a vertical power jump for 60 seconds, working on small little bite-sized chunks for quality, resting in between as we go. Then we'll move into a 15-second rest, into a half Turkish get-up, 30 seconds per side. No eccentric, but I want you to think controlling the down as best you can. Rest 15 seconds. Vertical power jump for 60 seconds for quality, rest 15 seconds, and then foot assist pistol for 30 seconds aside. One of those 4 variations that we talked about, and then you'll get a 60-second rest. So today is all about some single leg work, some rotation work in the body. It's gonna be a slower kind of day today, so I want you guys to have fun with it, enjoy and work those key skills as we move into the later portion of the week. Have fun today, you guys. Enjoy, as always, work for quality, have a ton of fun. We'll see you tomorrow for a cool little work set coming your way, or what's going to be a good one. All right, stay tuned, and we'll see you very soon. Bye, you guys.